Okay, so hi guys, my name's Cara Webster and I'm the owner of Enchanted Vines, and I did think it'd be fun to come on today and make a faux floral centerpiece. My original plan was to take apart the Moody winter centerpiece that I made because it didn't sell. I think it was beautiful, it was big, but it was kind of for a specific buyer and it just didn't sell. So my original plan was just to pull out the winter elements and then plug in spring ones and we could reuse it. However, that plan went totally awry. All the foam blocks fell apart, so I had to start over from scratch. So I thought that I would do that here. So this is a really beautiful base that I got at Home Goods. I didn't love the color of gold, so I spray painted it so that it fit the aesthetic I was looking for. And then here is my glue pan. Oh my gosh, I was testing to see the glue's consistency before, and now this thing is stuck in here. This might be why I don't do lives. Here. Okay, hold on, I'm going to remove a piece of foam. And just hope I don't hit myself in the face. That could totally happen. Okay. Back on track, Jack. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to re-adhere this foam block by dipping it in my glue pan. So this glue pan is by Shore Bonder. And what I like about it is it's kind of like a way to do hands-free designing. So you don't have to like stop your flow with picking up your glue gun and putting it back down. This glue gets very hot, it uses pellets, and I just find it to be really convenient. So the best way for me to do like hands-free designing is to use the Lazy Susan and then also the glue pot, and this is what was stuck in here, and it's because I was just trying to show like when the glue pellets melt, they're kind of like a honey consistency, okay? So that's what you want. Very, very hot, so you always have to watch your fingers like with anything. So this week I got an awesome haul from Pioneer Wholesales, which is in Ohio. And what I like about their materials is that they're very high quality. You don't have like flower heads that pop off. You don't have a lot of really artificial greenery. So I feel like pretty comfortable when I place a large order with them that I'm going to be happy with it. If you weren't happy with the order, you have 7 days to return it. I know some places you can't return at all. So that's kind of a gamble when you do a bulk order. So to start off with, we're going to be using these ficus leaves. And what I like about these branches is that they're very inexpensive. They're maybe $2 each. I think they're less. But you can get a lot of wear out of them, a lot of use. So what I do is I clip them in 4 different places. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And even if I'm using greenery that's nicer, I often like to underlay this just to kind of give it that depth and build it up. Because again, it's a cost-effective material and it gives, you know, your arrangements character. So to start, we're going to dip into our glue pan. And I'm going to just set the parameters. If you've done a workshop with me, you know that's usually how I like to design, is just to figure out exactly how far we want to push the boundaries of our piece and then build in. So for this, we're just going to go through and figure out just how big we want this arrangement. Now I do want this to be a big arrangement. I kind of have it in my mind that it's for like a formal dining room or a foyer ideally would be perfect, okay? So then I'm just going to put a few pieces in the middle. Again, setting the parameters around the height. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what we're going to be making today is a Moody floral centerpiece. And I wrote a blog about this. I've also done some posts, but this year my daughter went off to college and I just kind of had this whole like mix of emotions. I was excited for her. I was sad for me. You know, your house really does kind of feel like an empty nester when all the kids are gone. So I had a little woe is me moment, and I decided that I would just try and channel it into something more productive. So I started making these Moody floral arrangements, which are really just, it's a mix of kind of like happy bright flowers and then some more somber. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go in with what kind of like the primary floral is going to be for this. Now I'm using a couple different hydrangeas. Pioneer came out with this berry line. So like just to show you, you know, it's kind of like, it reminds me like a smoothie or something. So I'm going to just start with one of the bigger blooms because they're not all the same when you get these bushes of flowers. I'm going to take one of the bigger blooms and I'm going to make that my center flower. Okay. So really we're going to try and like not go much higher than that. And as you see me bending all the leaves, everything that we use is very malleable. I tell people, like, whether it's wreath making or floral arranging, like, it's not a delicate thing. Things aren't going to just snap and break if they're good quality. So you can bend things however you want and then bend them back. When you're dealing with things in nature, not everything goes like straight up and down. So you want things that you can tilt the head a little bit, just like how flowers grow. They grow towards the sun. So I'm going to start going through and just evenly distributing these lighter pink hydrangeas. So I got this Marble Lazy Susan, and she's so pretty, but she's heavy. I know that's not polite to say to a lady, but I would encourage people to get, you know, a lighter, maybe like a light wooden Lazy Susan would probably have been a better fit. All right, so once I've gone through the rest, so I like to do things in stages, and what that does is it kind of creates that level of balance so that from any angle you're kind of looking at the same arrangement. You certainly don't want one side to be chock full of a particular product or color and then the other side like bare. Okay, so looking at this, we've got pretty full coverage. And now we're going to go in with our second hydrangea, which is this deep berry. And she's new this year, and I am loving her. She doesn't always photograph as well as she should. She's not super photogenic, but she's beautiful in person. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to repeat those stages. So filling in some of the gaps, I'm going to turn and be alternating with my dark and light pink flowers, like so. These pieces end up being like chock full, which I love. Go big or go home with flowers, I think. All right, next I'm going to be going in with these. They're deep, kind of like a maroon colored peony. These are also new to me this year. And now we're going to pepper these throughout, okay? So when I cut these, I kept all of the stems really long, just because once they go into the block, I mean, we're talking at least 12 inches if you went all the way to the bottom. So you can always cut something shorter, but if you cut something too short, then you have to go back and put it on a pick. So again, it's not the worst thing. People should definitely experiment and just know that there are ways to fix things if you should cut your floral the wrong length. All right. So this girl is already filling out to just be this big berry beauty. And we've only used 4 different elements so far. So 1 type of greenery and 3 types of florals. I'm making sure I'm breaking up. If I have 2 of something, like on this side I have 2 of the dark berry side by side, I'm making sure I'm going in and I'm just breaking that up. Okay. The next thing I'm going to use are these pale pink cabbage roses. And I will say that the entire line of cabbage roses from Pioneer are gorgeous. They're very lifelike looking. They're, you know, for somebody who loves peonies, this would also be a flower that would work really well for when you're designing for them. So now we're going to go in with some of our brighter florals. We've got some somber going on. Now we need to brighten it up a little bit. Spin it. So far you can see how it's breaking it up. Go back in the middle. And then with these, they always come with 9 blooms, 6 are full size, and then 3 are buds. So when you're making kind of like your recipe, it's good to keep that in mind because you can cluster them in certain fashions, which looks really pretty. I always think that flower arrangements come together so easily. Like, I love making wreaths, but I also really find this to be a very effortless process. And I think for this year I'm going to do some more of the centerpieces. This year we're also going to be doing centerpiece workshops, which I've done a couple in the past, but I've had quite a few people that have attended, you know, their wreath workshops, and they don't need any more wreaths, so they're asking for centerpieces. So we're going to figure out what that looks like and what the materials are going to look like. Okay, so right now, very full, very big piece. And let's bring some somber into it. So navy was something I used to shy away from when it came to florals because I just didn't find them to be that realistic. However, they've really grown on me because they just pack a punch with just like a little bit of that dark, whether it's dark navy or something so deep in purple that it's like almost black. Like there's some orchids I use that are like that. So if we're just looking at this one piece, like the depth that creates with just like one stem of ranunculus, I think is gorgeous. So now I'm going to go through and pepper these in. And I don't want them all like totally uniform, so I want some kind of on the lower part of the base, some coming up higher. And not everything needs to be the same height. So like here, the ranunculus is kind of poking out a little further than the flowers, and I like that. You don't want anything very compact. I think like when you design, and if it's real like jammed in there, it just looks stressful. So corny, and people always laugh at me, but I always think that when you're designing with florals, if you want it to mimic nature, then it has to be something that like a butterfly could fly through easily. So it's just a little reminder to make sure that you keep a little space with your flowers. All right. Oh, I got Jared Kenny here. Hello, Jared. I'm like not really looking at my iPad because I don't want to burn myself, but I just saw your name, so thank you. I'm sure you're looking at it going, I could do it differently, but I appreciate it. I'm just teasing you. Jared is also a master with the glue gun, so I have to stay on his good side for when I need help. All right, we're going to go in with some bright ranunculus now. Again, we're talking about being moody. Just something I've been my whole life. This is just the first time it's worked out for me, I guess. But I did a blog yesterday, and moody by definition is somebody who has really like erratic, depressive or somber moods. And I really think moodiness is just like all of it. Like sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad. And yeah, that could be unpredictable, but that's how emotions are. So to me, I think embracing moodiness is just the best thing for you. And I'm definitely going to be doing it this upcoming year. All right. So look how big this is. Like I feel like I needed a bigger table to do this now. All right, so I have a few more colors, and I'm just going to use some of this sparingly just because this is getting like so big. So we're going to go in with some other pink ranunculus. These are a little larger in size, and then some of these like sherbet colored cabbage roses, just to give it a little pop. So I'm maybe going to use like one on each side, because we need room for the butterflies. We can't talk about it, we got to be about it. Okay. And then we'll just put our fourth one in, and there's like a nice little hole that needed to be filled, so that's perfect. Okay. Then we're just going to put in a few of these bubblegum pink ranunculus. I think I'm just going to do 3. Something satisfying about odd numbers sometimes. All right. So now looking at this, we could say we're done. This is like a huge ass arrangement. It needs a big table, or it needs a big space, but we want to go that extra mile and give it that extra like level of authenticity and depth. So now is when we go in with our texture, and texture can come from a lot of places. It can be with berries, it can be with leaves. I like to do a hearty mix of it. And, you know, it does become more expensive, but I do think that there are certain pieces that you're going to have, you know, for a very long time, years and years and years. And you don't want it to look dated. You want it to look like something that is natural and that you really love. Like, I like when there's something, whether it's art or flowers, like I look at it and I kind of have to process what it is that I'm seeing. And that's what texture does for me with flowers. Like, I have to identify, like right now we're using one form of eucalyptus. So like if I see this, I kind of process like, okay, it's not seeded eucalyptus, it's not silver dollar. This is a specific stage of a eucalyptus. I know, I'm being a flower nerd, but it's just how I feel. All right. So I'm putting a lot of these more towards the base because we want to make sure that we don't have a gap in between. Like, so when we're looking at it this way, it looks full. But if I lift this up, we do have some gaps that we need to make sure that we fill. Okay? Every angle should look full and lush and evenly covered with materials. So these have shorter stems, so I'm kind of like putting them towards the bottom as a focal point. Next, I have these fern, and what I like about this type of greenery is that they can be pushed up. So this is the type of greenery that you can manipulate however you want, and you get a lot of use out of this because you can make it really compact or you can leave it long. And then I'm not really going to be able to show you this, but I have like, you know, my floral tools that I love. I call this guy Chomp. And I know that's mature, but I call him Chomp, and what it is he cuts a full bush of flowers or stems at a time. So like I'm going to take this, and instead of having to cut everything individually, oh, come on, Chomp. Well, he's just being an asshole. Thank you. Okay, pardon my French on that one, but Chomp, cut them all at once, okay? So that kind of spares my wrists too. If you're somebody who, like, after you're doing a lot of designing, your wrists start to bother you, this kind of minimizes some of your work with your wire cutters. All right, now we're going in. Now I left a few pieces really long because I want them to pop out from the flowers. Think about like that English garden and how like wild things grow. This is how they grow. They grow in between other things. So we're like breaking up the flowers. And I'm putting these more towards the top, at least to start. Doesn't that look nice? All right. And then I'm going to pepper some in towards the bottom. Again, we want to fill all those gaps and create that visual texture. So I'm just going to go around. And these are kind of going in between the ficus leaves. They have like a nice bright springy green color. Okay. Ooh, we have options. We have these buttons and we have these pink berries. Oof, decisions. I think we'll do the pink berries and we'll see if we want the buttons. We might just go for all of it. So for these berries, if I was doing something on a smaller scale, like, or if I was doing a wreath, I might want to take these, just like I did with the other materials, and just pull them apart. Like in workshops, I show people, like, all these things rip apart. They're all wired. They have paper attaching them, or floral tape, but you could just pull them apart with your hands if you wanted to. For the purpose of this, because this arrangement is so big, I'm going to leave these together, and we're just going to do some like berry bursts. And because they're malleable, I can take part of the stem just to get the most out of my product. Instead of just having it in one clump, I'm going to spread these out and just get the most coverage that I can, because berries are a little on the pricey side to get good berries. There's a lot that are really cheap styrofoam, and if weather hits them, they're going to come undone pretty quickly. So I think it's worth it to buy good berries. And with these, we're going to do 3 stems. Now, I had a few reasons for doing a live today. One was I just figured I should get on. I want to start doing more videos online. The other one was I told my husband I was going to make him lunch, and then I didn't feel like it, so I decided to do this during lunchtime. Wife of the year. But also I just, right now we're not doing workshops. There's not a big demand this time of year because people are kind of in between their whole, Christmas and New Year's. And I really do enjoy teaching, so I thought it might be fun to just kind of share some of my tips and tricks. All right, so what do we think? Is she done? Is she done? I'm just going to put a couple of these buttons in, and then I am going to call it a day because I can definitely go too far just because I love all the materials. So if you are watching this live, thank you. Lives are not my strong suit, especially trying to figure out like questions being asked and all that. That's something that is a goal for me. But if there's anything that you want to see, I'd love to know about it. I'd love for you to reach out on my page and let me know, because I'm always looking for ideas, and I really do like to, share the things I love with other people. So I'd love to share with you. Just like perfect holes for these. Sometimes it's just like a spot for everything. And that's how this is landing right now. I said I wasn't going to go very far with the buttons, and then I'm using them all, but that's okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do, the last step, and I'm just going to shut this guy off. Where is this? He's so hot. I'm so afraid of like burning myself. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with some Spanish moss, and I'm just going to fill in all the gaps. If I felt like anything was loose, or I waited till the end, I would take my glue gun. However, we use Gorilla Glue pellets while we're doing this, so I have no concerns about this coming out of the foam block. So this is our final arrangement. I hope it's coming to a dining room or foyer near you at some point so she can live her best life. But I do thank you for watching and would love some feedback. Have a good day, everybody.